For months, quiet whispers and unanswered questions floated within the circles of Jimmy Swaggart Ministries. Viewers sensed tension, critics sensed silence, and supporters sensed that something behind the scenes wasn't being said. While both women, Grace Brumley and Jill Swaggart, continued leading worship, smiling on stage, and maintaining professionalism, a thick layer of unanswered curiosity lingered in. And then, without warning, the moment came. Grace Brumley finally decided, not in an angry statement, not in a dramatic live stream, not in a public but in a calm, controlled, heartfelt message that shocked everyone who heard it. Her words were unexpected, her tone was gentle yet firm, and her explanation didn't tear down Jill Swaggart, but it revealed truths no one saw coming. This is part one of that story. The silence that fueled rumors. Before Grace said a single word publicly, the online world had already built thousands of theories. Did Jill criticize Grace? Was there jealousy between their worship team? Was Grace being overshadowed? Was Jill making decisions Grace didn't agree with? Did something happen backstage? Nothing was confirmed. No fight ever went public. No confrontation was ever recorded. But the silence itself became fuel. And in ministries as big as JSM, silence doesn't stay innocent for long. It becomes a story of its own. Jill knew that. The entire worship team knew that. And still, they said nothing until the day Grace chose to break that silence. It happened during an unexpected recorded conversation, meant to be a simple discussion about worship, songwriting, and faith. The host casually asked Grace a question that instantly shifted the direction of the entire interview. "What has your journey been like working beside Jill Swaggart?" The room fell quiet. Grace's expression changed, not in anger, but in the way someone looks when they finally decided it's time to speak a truth that has been waiting inside them. She took a breath, smiled softly, and began. Grace Brumley's first surprising word. Grace didn't start with conflict. She didn't start with correction. She didn't even start with her own feeling. Her first words shocked everyone. "I think people misunderstand Jill more than they misunderstand me." No one expected that. Grace continued. "There are things people assume because they don't see what happens behind the scenes. They see the stage, they see the lights, they see the position, but they don't see the pressure, they don't see the burden, and they don't see the heart." The audience wasn't expecting sympathy. They weren't expecting compassion. They weren't expecting Grace to defend Jill. But that's exactly what she did. The truth about their relationship. Grace revealed that people often compare the two women as if they're rivals or competitors. One is young. One has seen. One leads the main worship ministry. One represents the younger generation of the swag. These comparisons created tension in the minds of viewers, not in real life. Grace softly addressed this. "I think people forget that we're family, and families don't compete, we complement each other." Her statement cleared years of speculation. She continued. "There were moments people assumed we were distant, but the truth is, we're just different personalities. Jill is structured, I'm softer, she leads with boldness, I lead with gentleness, and God uses both." For the first time ever, Grace openly explained the dynamic that thousands had questioned for years. The unexpected issue that started the whispering. But Grace didn't stop there. She finally addressed the moment that had sparked the most rumors, a moment no one knew she would ever talk about. The worship team transitioned. When roles shifted, when responsibilities changed, when Jill stepped into higher position, and Grace stepped into a different lane. People assumed something had happened between. Grace revealed the truth. It wasn't drama, it wasn't conflict, it was direction. God was doing something different with each of us. She admitted that the transition wasn't easy emotionally. "I struggled, not because of Jill, but because I didn't understand what God was doing with me yet." This confession stunned listeners. For the first time ever, she revealed vulnerability and denied any conflict with Jill. What Jill Swaggart did behind the scenes. Grace then shared something no one. "Jill was the first one who checked on me," she said. "Grace, you're not losing anything, you're stepping into something." This revelation turned the entire rumor mill. Instead of competition, there was mentorship. Instead of jealousy, there was support. Instead of silence, there were private conversations filled with encouragement. Grace's voice softened as she added, "People think Jill is strict or distant, but they don't see her late-night messages, her prayers, her concern for us. She has carried more weight than people know." This transformed the entire narrative, the pressure no one saw. Grace also talked about the hidden pressure Jill lived, upholding the worship standard, managing team decisions, bearing responsibility for mistakes, balancing family, ministry, and expectations, being compared to past worship leaders. Grace said, "People think Jill is tough, but she's tough because she has to be." Her words carried respect, even admiration. This was the truth no one expected, that Grace didn't resent Jill. She understood her. The day Grace almost walked away. In one of the most emotional moments of the interview, Grace revealed something shocking. "There was a day I considered stepping back from ministry altogether." She didn't say why. She didn't blame anyone. But she did say who stopped her. "Jill told me, 'Don't let confusion take you away from what God planted in you.'" The audience was stunned. The very woman fans thought was the reason for tension was the one who encouraged Grace to stay. The emotional turning point. Grace explained that her silence all these years wasn't because she had something to hide. It was because, "It wasn't my place to defend myself or Jill. God clears the air without us shouting." This line became the most quoted moment of the interview, one that changed how people saw both women. The truth no one expected. The truth Grace revealed wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a scandal. It wasn't a fight. It was something far more powerful. Grace and Jill were never enemies. People just needed them to be. Grace ended part one of her confession by saying, "We are different, but we are united, not in personality, not in style, but in purpose." And with that, the silence finally broke. The backstage world no one talks about. People see the church service. They see the microphones. They see the choir standing perfectly. They see Jill leading boldly. They see Grace singing gently. But they don't see what happens before the service. The rehearsal, the disagreements, the decisions that have to be made quickly, the pressure of standards, the private tears, the spiritual weight on leadership. Grace revealed that behind the scenes, emotions run high, not because of drama, but because of responsibility. She said, "People think worship is just singing. It's not. You carry people's burdens without them ever knowing. And in that pressure, misunderstandings can happen, not because of conflict, but because everyone is stretched thin." This is where most of the assumptions about her and Jill began. The moment that created the most rumors. Grace talked about one moment specifically, something small yet powerful enough to create months of online speculation. It happened during a rehearsal. The team was preparing for a major weekend service. Everyone was stressed, time was short, mistakes were happening. Jill had to step in with firm direction. She raised her voice, not out of anger, but out of urgency. The camera caught only 1 second of that moment. It went viral. People assumed Jill was harsh. People assumed Grace was hurt. People assumed something broke between them. Grace finally addressed it. "I wasn't offended. Jill wasn't upset. It was just leadership." But people turned it into a story that never happened. This revelation shocked fans because that tiny clip had created such a big wave online. Grace continued, "We laughed about it afterward. But the internet didn't." The difference in their personality. For the first time, Grace explained the core reason people misinterpret their relationship. Jill leads with fire, I lead with calm. And people think one is right and one is wrong. But God uses both. She explained it like this. Jill is bold, organized, structured. Grace is soft, gentle, spirit-led. Jill pushes the team toward excellence. Grace pulls the team toward you. These differences made fans think they were opposites or rivals. But Grace revealed something surprising. Jill's boldness strengthened me. My gentleness balanced her. We actually needed each other. The private conversation that changed their relationship. Grace revealed a personal story, never shared before. There was a season when Grace felt insecure, unsure of her role, unsure of her direction. Many thought Jill would be the last person to guide her, but she was the first. Grace remembered Jill's exact words. "Grace, don't lose yourself trying to fit anyone's expectation, including mine. God gave you a voice, not a copy." Those words stunned Grace. They stunned the interview audience, and they stunned the fans who always thought Jill overshadowed her. Grace said, "That conversation healed something in me. I realized Jill wasn't trying to compete with me. She was trying to protect me." When Grace's success caused unexpected tension, Grace then addressed something deeper, something that happens in all ministries but rarely gets spoken. Sometimes tension begins not from conflict, but from success. Grace's worship songs became extremely popular among the younger audience. People compared her to Jill constantly. Fans wrote comments like, "Grace should lead more. Grace is better than Jill. Why isn't Grace given more spotlight? Jill is blocking Grace." Grace said, "Those comments hurt Jill far more than they hurt me." This shocked the interviewer. Grace continued, Imagine being in leadership and people tell you someone younger should take your place. Jill never complained, but I saw the pain in her eyes sometimes. This moment changed how many viewers would see Jill forever. Grace revealed that instead of insecurity or jealousy, Jill responded differently. She supported me. She celebrated me, even when people tried to turn us against each other. The pressure of being a Swaggart. Grace also opened up about the pressure Jill carries simply because of the family name. People think Jill is strict, controlling, dominant, demanding. But Grace explained, Jill isn't strict because she wants control. She's strict because she wants excellence for the Lord. There was a heaviness in Grace's voice when she added, Jill has to answer to expectations no normal worship leader ever faces. This was another truth no one expected Grace to admit. The day they finally sat down alone, Grace told the story of the conversation that completely changed their dynamic. It happened after months of silent assumptions and online rumors. Grace asked Jill privately, "Are we okay?" Jill didn't hesitate. She said one of the most powerful things Grace had ever heard. We will always be okay, because we serve the same God and honor the same calling. Grace said she cried that day, not because of Jill, but because she realized how many years she let other people's voices affect her. Grace said, we were never enemies, we were never competing, we were never distant, people just needed us to. The unity that shocked everyone. Grace revealed that after that conversation, something changed in their ministry. Their communication became deeper, their respect became strong, their partnership became clearer, their roles became more defined, and most importantly, the supposed tension ended because it never truly existed. Grace summed it up powerfully. Jill is not what people think she is, and neither am I. We're just two women trying to serve God the best way we can. The truth no one expected, Part 2 summary. In this part, Grace revealed, there was never rivalry. Misunderstandings were public, not personal. Jill supported her behind the scenes. Fans unintentionally caused tension by comparing. Leadership pressure shaped Jill's personality. Grace's own insecurities made rumors seem believable. A private moment between them healed years of speculation. And then she said the line that will be remembered for years. We were not divided. The audience was. People thought Grace stayed quiet because she was hurt. She was ignored. She was overshadowed. She feared backlash. She didn't want, but Grace finally told the real reason. I stayed silent because I didn't want to defeat what God was. Her explanation shocked many because it wasn't about Jill, it was about purpose. Grace continued, if I defended myself, it would sound like competition. If I defended Jill, it would sound like favoritism. So I chose silence until my heart could speak without bitterness. This was wisdom no one expected. She didn't stay silent because she was scared. She stayed silent because she was strong.